This episode of the Hometown Holler podcast is brought to you by Down Home, North Carolina. Down Home, North Carolina is building power for working people all across our state because no matter who we are or where we come from, we all want the same basics. Strong public schools, safe and affordable homes, clean air and water, and the freedom to see a doctor when we're sick without falling into debt. Down Home is organizing to make that shared vision a reality in every corner of North Carolina. Learn more and get involved at downhomenc.org.
North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray. Well, hey, man.
We send out a lot of emails, inviting folks on the show, but this is a cool one because we met in the wild.
Yeah, we did.
A lot of times we'll go online and I'll have like a list in my mind of folks I want to invite on the show, but we were at, Kamal and I were out on a panel in Hillsborough, and I just was listening to you offer your thoughts, and you being on that panel was so interesting, and I was like, man, like, this guy, like folks need to hear what he's got to say, so we got to have him on the show. And
I appreciate that.
And it was, I sent your info to Quinn, and we looked you up, and it was an easy sell. It was an easy sell. So
that's good.
Folks, if you're not already familiar with Kamal Bell is a first-generation farmer and the founder of Sankofa Farms. He grew up in Durham, and he saw firsthand how hard it could be to get fresh, healthy food. So he decided to do something about it. Now he's not just growing food. He's mentoring young people. He's literally growing community and proving that farming can change lives. Today, he joins us to discuss what it's like to be a farmer in the 21st century and what it means to be connected with the food we eat and the people who feed us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Kamal, thanks for coming out to hang out with us today on a Sunday morning.
From Durham, right?
Yeah,
right
I'm
now?
from Durham. It's like a 30. Well, so I live in Durham. The farm is in Eflin, and then now I'm in Burlington. So it's like just a connect between like three counties, right, for like how I ended up here today.
Yeah. Eflin, it was right near, I grew up in Mebane, so we always loved Elfland.
Elfland. Elfland.
It's nothing there, but
Yeah, because when you said Durham, I was like, man, when I think of Durham, I don't think farm.
Oh, yeah. We originally tried to find a farm in Durham around 2016, but it was too expensive. So all this development going in Durham, the county land was really expensive. I guess Bahama would be in Durham County. That's where we were looking. The parcels weren't as large, and then we ended up in the middle of nowhere in Cedar Grove, North Carolina. So I'm thankful for it, and it's also serving as a bridge between like here, like I mentioned earlier. I'm going to be going to Greensboro today. I went to North Carolina A&T, so like we can hit a lot of major areas with the farm being located. I didn't know that in 2016, but now that it's happened, it's been like a real good.
What'd you study at A&T?
So at A&T, I had a really interesting experience. My undergraduate degree is in animal industry. Only when you graduate, it's animal science, but it's animal industry. If you ask somebody, it would be like for people who want to be vets. Then they like the science was too hard or something. So then like, all right, so to graduate, you do animal industry. Me, I actually changed my major to animal industry because I started reading a whole lot in college. Third floor Bluford library had it wasn't as large as you would think it would be at a HBCU, historically black college university, but it was a black study section. And my dad has a really dope black literature library at our home and or at their house in Durham. And I will always like pick books and like read through them, or he'll talk to me. Like he's really big on like black liberation theology.
Sure.
And when I got to college, I started getting on my own path because I went to Catholic school. So we had like this background. It's really interesting. So then when I get to college, I'm like, I want to learn more about my history because in Catholic school, I think the closest I got to do a project on Marcus Garvey in my philosophy class. And then we talked about Saint Maurice one time, who was like the celestial saint of like Germany. He's a black man. And that was like my only two like instances outside of home. So when I got to college, I started to read more.
That is wild.
Yeah, it is. So like you would think that you would learn more about that influence with just Africa literally being like across the Strait of Gibraltar, but you kind of like just don't hear it a lot. But I started to learn.
St. Augustine was African.
Oh yeah. I think St. Augustine. Yeah, I think that was another saint or another example of that. And then once I started to learn more, I was like, you know what? I want to do something that can like really help Black people. And I thought that just getting a farm was going to be like the thing. Like we get fresh food out, you start learning about food
That was
deserts.
the destination.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then once we actually started learning more and actually started like embarking on my journey to become a farmer, you used to just open up a whole nother can of worms.
So you didn't come from a farming background. Mom and dad, grandparents, they farm?
Yes and no. So my grandfather, my family's from Eastern North Carolina, Pamlico County, both
Nice.
sides.
Okay.
And my parents my dad grew up in Boston for a large part of his life. Then he moved down to Eastern North Carolina. But his family moved up there, then he moved back, and they followed him. My mom has been from Eastern North Carolina, Pamlico County. She grew up there her whole life. Then she moved up here. Well, they moved up here. But with that heritage in Eastern North Carolina, like there was farms in our family,
Sure.
but they were like we weren't voluntarily farming at some point. So that's why I use like first generation. But there were after slavery during Reconstruction, my family had land, and I recently learned of a story about 3 years ago. I have an ancestor, my great-great-great-grandfather on my mother's side, William G. Pearson. He owned 50 acres of land. And he took a loan out from the sheriff at the time. And he tried to pay him back the first year. He didn't take it. Then a boll weevil hit the following year. So he didn't have the money to pay him. So they took 50 acres of his land. And before he passed, he wanted to see that land, like that space one more time before he passed. So he got to see it. And my great aunt, this is all through her. But when we looked up the records of it, when I go to my grandmother's house on my father's side in Bayboro, North Carolina, when I stand on her porch, you can see this nice construction on the land now, and it's a prison. So when I looked up to see how much it sold for, I think it sold for like $27 million. So I'm like a first generation farmer, like by like typical occurrence or typical like these are like examples of what happened to
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I read the bio that I typed up last night, a first generation farmer, and I remember thinking it as I was typing up then, I was like, yeah, but that's really not true. And your work that you do today is focused on kind of reminding folks, right, that like you're a first generation farmer, and to the extent that there's been a hiatus, there's been a pause, right? But a big part of your mission is connecting people, but especially Black people, back to the traditions of farmers from the period right after Reconstruction, where folks were for the first time getting on their own 2 feet, building generational wealth. And yeah, I didn't know that story that you just shared about the prison on the family land. And that dude, there's a documentary right there.
Yeah, it is, and we have to like fully corroborate and get all the details. But my family goes, like my grandmother, they have like a community church. And I was just going through some records earlier in the year, but we also have a Bell family cemetery. And the Bell family cemetery is like in one area, then there's a ditch, then right next to it is the church's, the family church's cemetery. And William G. Pearson is buried next to the Bell family cemetery. So I'm going to go visit his. So I've been walking by his grave my whole life.
Yeah.
Let me go to the Bell family cemetery, like to honor my grandfather, my uncles, or our aunts. And he's been right there this whole entire time. I had no idea.
Wow. Yeah, go ahead, Quinn. Yeah.
What led you into this? I mean, was it from high school? Well, let me ask a question, backing it up for a second. It seems like you are very interested in your history and your family lineage.
And agriculture is like the conduit
Yeah,
to
it
that,
is.
right?
It is.
Like,
it's the conduit for it all.
What made you say, I'm going to go grow some corn? I'm going to go, this is how I'm going to do it. And I say this because I just had my high school reunion. I grew up in Mebane, North Carolina. And when I went to Mebane was not what it is today. Lots of farms. And there was a guy I graduated with, a young Black guy, I guess we're young. I'll still say I'm young. And he took over his dad's farm. Like he was always a farmer, and it's him and his son now doing it. Like, how did you go from A&T reading this stuff saying, okay, I'm going to go get my hands dirty? Because I mean, that's a hard job. Farming is hard.
Yeah, and farming is like one of the few professions where I still perceive it as inherited.
Right.
You know, like your dad was a farmer, your daddy's daddy was a farmer, and like that's how you
do it. And like nobody goes to college to be a
the barriers to entry are just so high.
And it's funny when people ask like, hey, yeah, you're right. The barriers to entry are like really difficult. And one of those barriers is like how people perceive it. So when I was in college, I would say, hey, I wanted to be a farmer. And everybody, so there's a psyche part of this. I don't know like how deep we'll be able to get into it. So like we're trying to farm to help black people, right? Black people, when I'm talking to them at that time, and I still think this exists now, don't realize how unstable the food system is and how we even get food. And I think that's a general thing, but
Can we talk more about that?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where food is getting shipped thousands of miles away and it's getting imported here for us to always be able to go to McDonald's, or if you go to, or any of these fast food chains, they always have food. Grocery stores always have food. We're not understanding how it gets there, the process and the labor, what has to be done to those products and items for us to get them. So when I'm talking about it, people are like your own people, like black people looking at me, and I would get this all the time. Like, why do you want to be a poor ass farmer? I would get that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there looking like, wait. So you want to do everything that you like? You have all these aspirations, but you can't feed yourself, clothe yourself, or we can't build infrastructure. We don't have the idea in the systems anymore on how to build infrastructure on land to sustain ourselves. So there was a piece where I'm just like, there's always, largely, there's a idea that the system, the government is always going to take care of you. And as we're seeing now, someone can come into office, with their intention, don't matter how it affects people, whether people argue it's good or bad, can do what they want and inflict how they view the world on you. I always say, like, I wasn't born to like fight racism or to live up under a apparatus of something else somebody else created. Like, I'm not here for that. I want to be here to connect with something higher than myself and to operate and to help and give out good energy. Because ultimately, within 100 years, no one's gonna know like about like the whole world, society will look different. So for me, it was one of those things where it was like, all right, I want to be able to change things I see wrong. So people would be like, hey, why do you want to do that? You need to go get a job in corporate America. Well, 15 years later, almost, look at those jobs. 18,000 getting cut here, 2,000 getting cut here, 10,000 getting cut here, people being forced out. I could see that then because I was reading, and it happened before, especially under the Reagan administration. So when we're looking at like now, you realize like it's a wheel. So trying to get our people to be like, hey, look, we need to look at things from a different perspective and look at it as survival. I had one of my friends tell me yesterday. He was like, when I first met you, you told me you're a farmer. I didn't realize like the first 2 years of us talking, like I had to ask you, how do farmers make money? Because I didn't think farmers made money. I saw you selling honey, but then I saw you stop selling it. So I felt like you didn't make a lot of money off of it or anything. But you have to get to a point just with that psychological barrier. I'm a person that takes a doubt and uses it for fuel. I need someone to be like, Kamal, you can't go do something.
You got to prove somebody wrong.
That's just my makeup. My oldest son is like that too. But I'm like, doubt me all day, please, so I can go create the thing that you're doubting me about. But that was a constant struggle in college, like just trying to get us to see. And people now, when they see like how well the farmers doing, we have books, we have all these different things now, or we have a book, a children's book. People are like, they like turn this. I don't want to see that. Like they're not like, hey, I was wrong. Like you might get like one person, but people are like,
nobody likes to admit defeat. No. But how do farmers make money? So like my perception is when somebody tells me they're a farmer, a local farmer, that they're hustling farmers markets, right? Hopefully just to make ends meet back, and then like they don't have a lot. From judging a book, they don't look like they have a lot of money. And you're not like selling to Walmarts and Food Lions and McDonald's. How does a farmer make money?
A small farmer makes money through farmers markets, CSAs, wholesaling. and keeping inputs low and keeping
What's a CSA?
Community supported agriculture. So what happened is this model was actually founded by a black man too, Booker T. Watley.
Okay.
He has a book on how to make 100,000 on 25 acres. It's like an excellent guide, but it's a little old now. But he came up with the idea. Well, I believe he was a professor at Alabama A&M. I believe he's from down south, and he gets confused with Booker T. Washington.
I was
all
going to
the
say,
time.
not Booker T. Washington.
Yeah, not Booker T. Washington.
Watley.
Booker T. Watley.
Yeah, just
Yep.
so folks at home, you heard that
Booker T.
distinction.
Watley. And the book is really hard. It's like out of print now. But he laid out how farmers could make money. And he came up with an idea of a subscription program where people pay the farmer up front a retail price per product, and it's 5 to 6 items in a box. They pay them weekly, and then the farmer gets the money up front to cover expenses and loss during the upcoming season.
Like a subscription service.
Yep, a subscription service. And then the farmers distribute the food directly to the consumer because that's your highest price point.
That solves one of the big conundrums of agriculture, right? Which is like it takes a lot of capital to deliver the thing, right? But so to get the money up front, to be able to have that at the start of the season, to fund the season, to make this that's really cool. That's a really great model.
But if you're a large farmer, you're wholesaling and you're trying to get the food to a processor, and that's going to commodity prices depending on what they are. Input costs are going to largely affect how much money you make. So a lot of farmers who are selling to or producing on a larger scale, they will get under a system of continuously taking out microloans to cover expenses for the season and trying to pay them back. But if the prices are too low, you can't do it. Then that loan gets rolled over into a new loan, and then you have this conundrum of you just being in excessive debt.
So we're just coming out, it was this fall that we had a government shutdown. The hostage for that whole thing was SNAP, right? And I'm curious to know, all that's tied up in food, all that's tied up in agriculture, and who gets to eat, right? Whether it's the shutdown or SNAP or just the Trump administration in general, how are all these policies and all of these battles impacting farmers? And I'm not talking, I mean, obviously, some farmers are having, I'm sure, well, I don't want to say a great time because tariffs are not great for farmers in general, but but I'm not talking about Monsanto.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Kraft or these bigger agricultural companies, but like folks like you, right, where this is your day-to-day bread and butter. You wake up and you grind.
So I wrote an article. I have a fellowship. It's called the Castaneda Fellowship. And I actually just wrote an article probably like 3 weeks ago about SNAP and the history of it. But I do some lobbying as well. Like I go to DC and like talk to our local representatives. And last time I went through a leadership program. I was just like, you know what? Let me go by everyone's office who's on the ag committee, Democrat and Republican, and just get information. I send everybody an email. And ironically, a lot of people responded back. Like I was kind of amazed at like how many people responded back from both sides on just be like, hey, well, definitely, I'll just offer myself as a resource when they're looking at agricultural policy. So the whole SNAP piece, SNAP is under the Farm Bill, and the Farm Bill has been continued, has had a continuing resolution since 2018. It gets renewed every 5 years. So we're supposed to have a new one in 2023, but we haven't gotten one. So when I saw that, then I was watching Robert Kennedy talk about MAHA. And then you look at the USDA priorities. They have a huge focus on small farms. So if small farmers have been sticking in local production, that is one of their focuses. Under the USDA's priorities, number 5 has an emphasis on making sure small farms develop more localized production and are able to have access to funding to build out systems. And priority 8 is making sure, I believe, small farmers are being classified correctly and that they're describing who they're trying to redirect resources to. People miss that.
Yeah.
So when I saw this administration coming in and looking at things that were coming out, I could connect like, oh, they want to have a connection and want to build up smaller farms. That's what I was looking at from my perspective.
Sure.
So I went and planted as much food as I could, improve, expanded infrastructure.
As a small farmer.
Yeah, as a small farmer. And the price points on the items that we were getting didn't change too much. Compost has gone up a little bit, but we get ours delivered out of Durham. But all the small farms that I'm talking to and farmers that I know, they're doing well. I went to the farmers market yesterday to pick up an order from one of my mentor farmers, and the farmers market was booming. So people are coming back to localized production because they have to.
Is that because a lot of the bigger giants are getting slammed with tariffs and costs are going up, and so they're no longer y'all are more competitive now? Is that part of it, or
I think what's happening there is corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, cotton, the commodity crops that they're growing.
Right.
The corn mostly goes for feed. The soybeans go for feed too. So they're not doing 100 acres of kale in this area. When you go out to the Pacific Northwest, you'll see more. You go to Florida, you'll see more fruit and food crops there that we actually consume, but then getting shipped thousands of miles. So that's why the price is so high, because we don't have that focus here.
so around here, you're driving to North Carolina and you see a field of corn, that's going to cows.
Most likely. Most likely somewhere is going to feed. So pig feed, chicken feed, cow feed. That's where those things are going. So, but there are parts of North Carolina, like sweet potatoes. North Carolina produces that. I think the most sweet potatoes in the country. If they're not number one,
it's our state veggie.
if they're not number one, like I think they're number one. So, so when you're like, you have that piece, but the production. This is what I mean when people I don't think can conceptualize how much food has to be produced. You would have to. I don't even know if it's possible. I think Guyana, from a research study, was the only country in the world that can feed itself.
Wow.
And so things have to be imported. It's just about how well can we do that here and then expand outward, because we don't have that many farmers. So people had to own large acreage. So it's like, if we can have some incentive to go back into it, I think there would be a large interest, especially right now.
How large is your farm?
Our farm is only 12 acres, but we have 5. We have a unique experience because we started our farm from scratch. So like the land had like trees, and first thing people say, can you harvest them? Those trees were like this big, so you can't do anything with those. No, I couldn't do that. So we had to like get a bulldozer, clear it out.
Were you married when you first bought this farm?
I was. Me and my wife.
Your wife was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It's like we bought a zoo or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
We bought
God.
a farm and it's trees.
No, my wife, we met in college. So one of the main inspirations behind the farm was the fact that we had a kid early. So when I was like, my wife was, I think, 21. I may have been like 23. So we had kids really, really young. So when I was like going through that, I was like, I don't want to ever be in a position where I can't feed my family. So like that was like the catalyst. And we went to the USDA. That's like a whole nother podcast story. Like that's crazy. But she's like really go with the flow, like earthy, like things make her mad, but like if something makes me mad, I'll talk about it for a day.
Sure.
She's like free flowing. So this whole process, she's like, go ahead and do it. Like, let's do it. Like, she's just all into it.
Man, having chicks like that, having a partner,
Yeah.
I should refrain from that. Having a partner that's like that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Like you're lucky, man.
Yeah, we're just like, she was like, am I going to see today? I'm like, hey, I'm going to do podcasts and get the food. Like, she's a birth doula as well, and a postpartum doula. So like, she's helping bring babies and help support babies once they get here. And we did a drop off yesterday of like mommy care packages and fresh food to 30 mothers in Durham. So like, we're finding like more synergy with our work now, which has been real cool.
One, you talked about the farmers market, like people are coming to it, your small farms, you seem to be doing well. I have a idea of a farmers market, and maybe it's because we're in Alamance County and what the farmers markets we see here. But why would I go to a farmer's market to buy kale from you when I can go to Walmart and maybe get it cheaper? Or the idea of when people go into Food Lion, they see strawberries, and then organic strawberries are a little bit more. So that makes me think if I go to a farmer's market, it's going to be a little bit more. How do we get people to, one, start shopping at farmer's markets, and for you to really produce that food for people to eat?
That's a great question. I think the number one thing is how fresh the food is. The quality is going to be 10 times better than a grocery store. The quality control is going to be, there's going to be better quality control mechanisms on a small farm than you would someone who's doing 1,000 acres of a thing and then it getting shipped off.
I mean, you can see that at like eggs, right? You buy an
Yep.
egg from the grocery store and you crack it, and that yolk is gonna be like
Yellow.
like piss yellow,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, my parents have chickens, and you crack one of those eggs, it is just orange.
Yeah, it is. The nutrients.
Yeah,
Like the chickens have access to a higher quality of feed because they're grazing and eating insects that have a higher protein content. So that's going to be the number one thing with eggs. the crops, you're going to have more of a nutrient dense and consistent quality of a product at a small farm because you have to focus on a smaller area and having higher output in that area. So that's going to be different. So we did farmers markets at one point, but we kind of opted out of it. The culture of farmers markets, I think, need to change. But I think that's also relying on the psyche of people who attend them. The people, like you go to Carborough's farmers market, are going to be thinking about food a different way. And then also the quality of life is different. If you go to urban Durham or urban Burlington or urban anywhere, the quality and the quality of life is different. And one thing that I think, me and my wife were like briefly talking about this, fresh food doesn't solve the problem. Right. Like there are other, like wages are too high. I mean, wages are too low and people can't afford to pay and live a basic standard of life. So when we're talking about one group of people who have a stronger economic base, and that's like, that's a whole other conversation too, like of why that happened. It's largely psychological. And then people who don't, that farmer's market relationship and that type of style of market is going to look different because somebody might not have a car, might not be a sidewalk. The Carborough farmers market, the Hillsborough farmers market, those areas are tailored to welcome in people who can drive in and have the resources. But like the infrastructure exists there, and it exists because the city built it and invested in it. When you take a Durham, for example, you see how the development is popping up and they're gentrifying it, and where the focus is, you're not going to have that there for that group of people. So it needs to be like a culturally relevant, intentional model developed to have diverse demographics at a farmer's market.
One of the things, oh, sorry, you have a question? One of the things I think is so cool about Sankofa is that it is like, it is, as we mentioned earlier, right? The goal was not I'm going to feed people, but like I'm going to empower people. I'm going to find ways to, let people
change that psyche.
Yeah, exactly. Like discover higher degrees of agency, right? And like food is kind of the Trojan horse that like we sneak in, right? And one of the ways you guys do that is through the Agricultural Academy. Yep. And could you talk a little bit about that and how that integrates into your mission?
Yeah. So this story is going to start out really good, and then it's going to it's going to take a turn. It's going to take some. It's going to lose some momentum. So,
and then is there it just stays there, or does it pop back up?
We're in the stage where we're trying to pop it back up.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right.
So I'm a former agricultural instructor. When I received my agricultural my teaching certificate or teacher license at North Carolina A&T, well, I guess North Carolina Department of Instruction like stamps it, but I asked to be placed at an urban school, and with being from Durham, and when it worked out perfectly where I was able to start at Lowell's Grove. And this is going to all touch on psyche. So when I got there, I had a mentor and teacher, but he was from like a rural area. His name was Mr. Rose. And he helped me. He was like one of the best teachers. Well, he probably was the best agricultural teacher for like probably 20 years in that district. And he was my mentor and teacher. And through him, I was like, you know what? You think I should start a garden for the kids here? And he was like, I think that'd be great. Like he was an older white dude, like real cool. He was like, I think that'd be great. And I was like, all right, cool. And he got me resources to start it. So we started this garden, and I was like, think we should get some chickens. So everything I was just like, he was just like, we should get some chickens. We got chickens for him. So all these kids who everybody said wasn't interested in agriculture. Mm-hmm. You read so much about, black people associate agriculture with slavery, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, that isn't happening because one, they really don't have an emphasis on that part of history in the school systems. And then two, when being a history buff and reading, that's not where our relationship started with agriculture. Because if you look at where we were coming from, how would we be brought from Africa and then brought here and be taught how to farm here? We would have to have known how to farm and build these systems long before we were brought here, because why did you go get those people to come farm? So it's like little things like that. When I'm hearing people talk, I'm like, it's like, just go study and like read a little bit.
Just like read a book.
Just read a little bit.
Watch like a 3-minute YouTube video.
Then
it's not that hard.
It's not. So then you take those people from Africa and then bring them to the Caribbean, then send them to South America, Central America too, in North America, and some even to Europe. And they all farm. It's just like how they adjust to the climate. So there had to be a high understanding there. Yeah. And so when I'm like talking to the students, their introduction to agriculture ended up being that garden. And from there, like a lot of these kids now have gone on to kill people or in jail. Like there are very few success stories.
I think this is where we're starting to go down. We had like a garden.
No, we want to go back up. 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 So I was like,
These are at-risk kids.
Yeah, these are at-risk.
And you gave them their first and maybe only in some cases experience with, you know, like hands in the dirt, holding a chicken, like making it real.
There are kids in Durham who haven't been, like this school was in South Durham. There are kids in Durham who have never been to West Durham, like or North Durham. Like it's crazy. And I'm just like, have you ever been like to this area? Like, no. I'm like, what? Like,
what a gift you are giving.
Yeah. I think it was a great gift for them. And some of the kids I still talk to. I was talking to one student yesterday. So like when we're doing this program, I'm like, you know what? And I'm also like in the USDA. I'm fighting the USDA too to get a farm too at this time. So we ended up getting a farm, and I asked the school principal, because the farm was all trees at first, could we utilize the space at the school because they had a perfect setup because it was in the middle of the school, like it was closed off from like people coming in. So she was like, me and her started having like bumping heads because when I started to see a barrier, I was supposed to be a full-time teacher and also a full-time garden instructor and running a garden, like running the farm now and then trying to, like the kids had to be actively a part of that. Even that was hard because I was going around Durham and picking them up in a van. Like I got this raised like $2,000 on GoFundMe and bought like a little raggedy old van from a basketball coach. Like the kids were embarrassed. They'd be like, that van was horrible. And I would pick them up and take them to the farm. But I started trying to use the school space as a buffer, like an educational tool. And the principal was like, that's not a question for me. Ask the CT director. I'm like, what? So I went and asked him. I got paid like pennies to work with the kids over the summer. But then we'll be working and she'll be like, I want some squash. And I'm just like, yo, these kids are hungry and you're asking for food for yourself. Like, it's selfish. So I'm like, this is not going to work. So our local church, St. Mark AME Zion, let us use their space. And I was able to take the kids there. Then we start going from the church to the farm, even though there wasn't much there. And we started working with them there. The kids did really, really well. Like we were on I think the height of like us working together was we went to the Atlantic Festival in DC. It's like a huge political festival. And
Did you take the kids with you?
I took two
like the
kids.
Atlantic magazine.
Yeah, it was them.
Damn,
And
wow.
It was incredible. Like when they announced the first, I think, impeachment inquiry.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi was there. Whoa. Like, so everybody's sitting in the back and it came in and everybody's like freaking out, like, oh my God. And I'm just like, she's right there. Like, so we were like witnessing it like in real time. And we took two of the students there and it was incredible. Like, after we spoke on stage, Mitt Romney, we met Mitt Romney. He's like really tall. He like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a hooper. But like, we were back there with Mitt Romney, like his security talking to them. Like, he was real cool. Like, so that's how, like, after we spoke, Mitt Romney came in. And we got there because we had a relationship with Bayer Crop Science. And when they were in RDU, and they donated a whole bunch of bee equipment to the students. So that's like a catalyst to our beekeeping journey. And the students did so well. Like, we were staying in the Kimpton Hotel. Like, it was like the first time I went to a hotel, opened a refrigerator, and there was like Bombay in there, wine. It was like snacks. I was so scared, like, to even touch it. And then they told me, Adam was like, you could have did anything? You could have got anything you wanted. I was like, well, it was probably good because I probably been like, right?
I'd have
been like drinking wine.
Those kids, I mean, never seen West Durham, and now they're in DC seeing all of this.
And like in the Kimpton Hotel, like 5-star hotel. And after that, the students were doing great. Then COVID hit. And then extreme individualism, isolation kicked in. And one of the students that came, he still comes to the farm, like off and on, but he went and got a job. He went and bought, like, he had a good job. Like, he was on the path. He was going to community college. Then he decides to buy a Dodge Challenger for $60,000. Like, stupidest thing. So now he's like wrapped up in that. The other student who we took was doing great. And he lived in, like, he had a rough life. Like, he had rough life. He ended up going to A&T, but then his dad got in his life. They start selling drugs. And Greensboro, his dad ended up getting a shoot, and his dad got killed. Then he gets shot, moves up to Virginia, And it's like the first like public story about all of this. And then he ends up getting caught selling drugs. Now he's in jail. Another kid, like all the kids like that came through that were like doing so well until that happened. So like the story was like climax, and this is like the peak. So now we're trying to figure out how we structure a program to get them more resources, because it was just Mr. Bell family trying to work with all these kids. Like I'm picking them up, trying to do a farm. So we decided for the last like 3 or 4 years to like just back off of the direct youth program, because I had a cohort of kids and now I got 4 kids, and to see like what we need to build through our nonprofit, because we have a LLC and a nonprofit, to get those kids the resource to give them a chance.
I mean, I will say though, you know, you do know that it's possible.
Yeah.
You know that this is something that is worthwhile and like has proven results, and the benefits to everybody, to you, to the kid, to society. Like this is one of those. It's one of those no-brainers, right? It's like we should be dumping money hand over fist into projects like this.
Yeah, and that's what I often think about is like, how can we get the resource, because we saw like really good things.
Yeah.
And I think what it does is it also changes that race relation dynamic of looking at that group, how
No doubt.
like how people do, like because it's easy, because like you'll turn the TV and who you see on the football field, he's on the basketball field, like you see that piece, and it's just like our kids can be so much more, and that's a healing thing to all of us. And then also the relationship of just like black people and white people, just societally, like and around agriculture.
And there's just a minor thing I'm thinking about, which is I grew up on a small farm, and as a kid, there were so many things that are off limits for you for whatever reason, either because your parents told you can or can't do that, or like you walk through a grocery store and like if I'm 9, I don't have any money, right? But I'm thinking back now, and I'm remembering the feeling I had of like, it's late July and I want a blackberry.
Yep.
I'm gonna walk out there and just get me a handful, and that, like, I didn't have the language to describe it. I didn't have the vocabulary, but that was a really empowering experience. And it made me feel like a person who could do things and had the right to do things, right? If I want this, it's out there. I weeded the garden. I'm going to take it.
And now look what you can look what that gave.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like
that was the seed. I mean, metaphorically and literally, from which so many things. Yeah.
It's a level of disruption, because now you're like, I cannot have to depend on something larger. Right. I have the utility to do something that can sustain myself.
And when people try to make you dependent, you're much more resistant, and you see past the bullshit.
And then now you can say, hey, I'm not going to go look at someone or go work with somebody telling a story. I'm going to put the infrastructure in myself, and I'm going to tell other stories and look what it can do.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying like farming that individually, but it is a seed to be able to give yourself that form of like self-determination.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, just off the cuff, right? Like it's, when I think farmer, and I think for most people here in Alamance and around, right, they think of this like old white guy.
We think of that
right?
meme, right, where it's like, it ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah,
the guy in the overall.
And just look at Steve Troxler, right?
Yeah.
He's all right. Like he's what the picture is of old McDonald.
Yeah.
And you showed up today. You had your farm gear on. You're like, hey, can I change? And then you come in here and like, I wouldn't look at you and be like, man, that dude's a farmer. Like, you know, he's a, and I think that's great with, especially with the kids and stuff, showing them that you don't have to be this overall hick, right? To where like you can be fly. We can have a Dodge Charger, but I'm also going to farm and we can do this shit.
Yeah, because like, how does the like entertainment industry grab so many kids? Like,
because it looks cool. It looks fun.
Cool. Yeah. You get a chain and you get like access to all these people, and then like you feel important. But it's like you can do that in other industries too. And like farming is one of those things where I always try to like wear suits. Like when we went to our book event in New York for Akeem Keeps Bees, getting recognized by New York Public Library System as one of the best books of 2025.
Which is dope.
Yeah, it's really dope. I'm still trying to like wrap my mind around it.
And that's the book you and your son wrote.
Yep. Akeem gets author credit.
Yeah,
like, so,
I said his name's on the book.
Yeah, so he technically helped write the book. So that is the book that Akeem.
You can't have a book
That's
without
a good
Akeem.
dad right there.
I can't.
I see what he's doing.
Akeem told me, he was like, I'm more famous than you. And I'm like,
easy, buddy.
Yeah, it's like, well, technically you are, because the book is going to be around a whole lot longer, like, than I will. So
Santa Claus heard you say that.
Yeah, he did. I'm actually going to be Santa Claus for them. Like my youngest son got like so excited this year, so I'm actually going to dress up this year. For
Nice,
him.
that's awesome.
But like it's one of those things where like that's their reference point now. So it's just one of the things that I want them to look at it and reimagine and see themselves in it, because I'm pretty sure that we've probably met some way more important people than a lot of kids would who are pursuing sports or people are. So I just think like it's fun, but like it takes platforms like this for us to like tell that story and announce it so they can make that connection.
Definitely, man. Well, we really, really appreciate you coming out. Where can folks learn more about your mission, keep in touch with your work, and follow you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, Sankofa Farms. Our nonprofit is Sankofa Saves. It's really easy to find.
It's spelled like it sounds.
Yeah, Sankofa, and then Farms, and then Saves for the nonprofit. YouTube, we have a YouTube channel that we were uploading videos. Then we got really busy. Every platform you can find us on Sankofa Farms. I'm most active on Instagram and LinkedIn though. So LinkedIn under Kamal Bell or Sankofa Farms. So KamalBell or Sankofa Farms.
And this will be going out right before the holidays. And if anybody's looking for that last minute little something, Akeem Keeps Bees.
Oh yeah, Akeem Keeps Bees will be an excellent gift for kids like of all backgrounds, and you can buy that at it's on Amazon.
Pretty much wherever you can get books, right?
Barnes & Noble,
Yeah.
Flyleaf has it locally.
Well, it's funny. I met you and I heard about the book, and ever since then, like I've seen the book like 3 or 4 different. Maybe my phone was listening to me, but like it's popped up as an ad.
Yeah,
And,
that's triangulation. Was it Palantir?
yeah,
And
that's
all the
right.
people I can
That's
think
right.
of.
Peter Thiel is like Daniel needs to get Akeem. Yeah.
AI is working its own way, so you
go
can
ahead and
find
get
it anywhere. Yes, go ahead and get Akeem Keeps Bees. You can get it at Quail Ridge and Raleigh as well.
That's awesome. You're welcome back anytime, man.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed
Yeah,
this.
this was a hoot. And Quinn, is there anything else we're missing besides
No, I think that's it, man.
tell folks to go to our Patreon and support us?
Definitely do that. And go support them. Go
Yeah.
give them some loot. I'm sure there's a donation button on your site.
The Sankofa Saves website should be up by the time this comes out. So
Cool.
you can go sign up as a reoccurring donor, or I'll come pick up a check. Like it don't matter. As long as,
You'll make house calls.
Yeah, we'll make house calls. We do whatever we need to do to
It might be in a
expand the work.
$2,000 van that you might be embarrassed, but I'm still getting that check.
Yeah, we still gonna get that check either way.
Well, this is a hoot, man. Thank you so much. And folks, thanks for listening in. And I think we'll be back. We only got maybe one more episode.
Yeah, I think our holiday special.
Holiday special. Let's leave it at that. We'll keep us some surprises on that
Yeah.
one. The holiday special's coming up, though. It'll be fun. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Cheers.
Thanks again to Down Home North Carolina for making this episode possible. Learn more about their work and get involved at downhomenc.org.